This is the Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. A few businessmen get together and discuss sports in an entertaining fashion. What it is, what it ain't, you know what we're going to do, man. We are going to provide to you sports, business, and entertainment in one way and one way only, as rough, rugged, and raw. The crew is in the building today. This episode is going by the title, Caught. And because this word has so many meanings, it can be a verb, it can describe a situation and a condition. And for us, it is going to hammer home what we need to hammer home today when it comes to sports, business, and entertainment. If you know us, you know us that we put a lot into our title. So that one word has a hefty punch that it is packing. And so we want you guys to stay tuned. Make sure that you fasten your seatbelt. Make sure that you humbly, we ask you, like we ask you every week, please like, comment, share. You can tag a friend, you can tag a foe, you can tag anyone that you know, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. With no further ado, we got everything lined up. The content is ready to be delivered. But, we got to get the intro first. So start tagging people, start liking it, start commenting, start subscribing, and we're going to start the show right after this. So let's go. Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go. Here we are, man. It is Friday, so we're back on schedule. We are officially into September. It is the day after 9/11, but it is September. We did a Sunday show that was out of the ordinary, but now the new ordinary, because we going to put these shows together and give them this fire content when we want to, not when the calendar says we have to. But because this episode is going to be fiery, I want to make sure they understand who's going to deliver this content. They say it's a few businessmen discussing sports in an entertaining fashion. Well, one businessman we have is coming from the Middle Coast. He is the man, the myth, the legend. Thou shall be intergalactically known and respected as. And when you say it with some reverence in your voice, some bass, and some real oomph in your chest. He is the Big Flow Shows in the building. What's up, my guy?
Man, not enough, man. Not enough. What's good with you, man?
Man, you know what it is, man. I am like the rest of the world, consumed by these current event stories and some of the tragedies, and we're gonna get on those. But we can be consumed and still we can multitask and still deliver this good content called the Ball Hog Sports Talk, right? So that's what it is, man. How about yourself? Everything good with you, brother?
Man, everything's good. Just looking forward to a good weekend watching my kids play. Baby girl is in New Orleans. They lost a tough one last night. Got a couple games today and tomorrow. They'll be on ESPN tomorrow, ESPN Tree. So if you're around, check them out. Alabama A&M versus New Orleans. So that should be good. Pretty exciting. Hopefully she gets a little tick. My son is playing against a school called Shepherd. We're going to fly out there tonight and check that out. See it tomorrow. But that's what my weekends consist of going forward right now.
Right on, man. Well, good luck to both of the amazing student athletes. And not that we need to roll out our resume and build our credibility, but at the Ball Hog Sports Talk, man, we got an OG. Not only has he gone through it himself, All-American, all that good stuff going to Notre Dame, but now he didn't put not one, but two student athletes, not just a young man, but also a young lady. I feel like we got more credibility than anybody, man. So
I think life is about desires, right? And what you're driven towards. Like if you really, really, really want to lose weight, you can be disciplined and not eat. If you really, really, really want to get in shape, you go to the gym every day. If you really, really, really do not want to pay for college, you wake
Train them
it's
kids,
up at
dog.
5 in the morning, drive these little children and say, you better dribble that motherfucker.
Yeah, I used to
Run up and down
remember
that field, man.
back when Widow Wedge, your namesake, was early in high school. I remember you was on a jug machine. You told me how many catches you were getting, man.
Yeah,
Like
we did COVID 500 catches a day.
five.
My son, sometimes you like, look, I'm not gonna be bothering you. You better come get me. Some days I said I could hear him walk up and he would just turn and go like this.
And you knew what it was.
500 is a lot.
Yeah. Hey man. Hey.
It's a lot.
But you did it. He's there.
We did it though. We had got up to 40,000 before I stopped counting.
40,000 catches. I think that's the perfect segue for this show. Caught. Because every ball that was caught.
Look at how that happened.
You see how that happened?
God did. You see what God did.
But every ball that was caught was with the intention that indeed, man, you guys had a dream and a vision in mind. So God bless you, man. Enjoy the fruits of your labor watching your young student athletes compete this weekend. We also been consumed all week about, or at least the last 2 days, about this Charlie Kirk story. And so we're going to get to that. But before we do that, man, we got to do the follow-up. Youth football coaches. And for anyone questioning our ability to spell, Foaches is an intended spelling of a contraction that my best friend Kareem Douglas White made one day when I was frustrated with the youth sports world. He said, man, you got to remember, man, a lot of these dudes is fake ass coaches. And he coined the term Foaches. And so my follow-up to Sunday for anybody who watched it, this is going to be entertaining before we get to some deep stuff. So I got to be entertaining too, man, because it's sports business and what? Entertainment. The entertaining follow-up to Sunday's show about me having an issue that turned really ugly in front of the kids, which I regret, with another coach that never got physical, but there was a lot of vitriol spewed in the communication. Is the next day, you remember we recorded early on Sunday so I could get to that game and get my son's player card. He's a player, I had to get the player card. The next day, after I got the player card, we sat and watched the game. And if you recall, my biggest issue was trying to thwart the reality that we're going to put some kids on that field unprepared. Remember that word? Unprepared. Mm-hmm. We sat there and watched 4 quarters of unprepared football. And I share that in the beginning of this show because listen to me. Listen to the sound of my voice, you Foaches, whoever you might be. If parents have entrusted their child in your care, if you are the protector of their most precious asset on the entire planet, you're the bridge between that asset and their safety. Let me just tell you, if you're a Foach, eventually your ass gonna get caught. What I watched on Sunday is a Foach expose himself in terms of not exposing himself that way and trying to get the man arrested, exposing himself in terms of preparing kids. When they are 12 years old, the product that rolls out on that field is going to reflect how well or not you've prepared them. So I say to all my youth football coaches out there, if you don't want to be a coach, watch videos, ask other coaches, go to games, learn how to communicate with the young people that are within your care. Have pride in making sure they go on that field prepared. Because if not, eventually your ass gonna get caught. With that, man, let's hop into some of our current event stuff. The first one is it is what it is, man. Charlie Kirk was gunned down by an assassin by the name of Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old. and it has the entire world. The universe where Charlie Kirk became famous is in social media space. And so it has all of us reeling. It has all of us having conversation. It has all of us trying to, figure out how to discuss it. Dare I say we are caught. We're caught in between a rock and a hard place. To see a young 31-year-old man killed, knowing his wife and kids, is tragic. But as a black man, there's two of us here. Let's just call us the two black pilots that are the ones that are navigating this show. As a black man, I'm torn between a rock and a hard place because the tragedy of a 31-year-old young man, that's young. That's a really young life. Losing his life, man. I want to talk about it in terms that support the fact that it is a tragedy. But when the videos are going on and on about his statements about black pilots, if you haven't heard it, essentially, I'll paraphrase it like this. If I get on a plane, I see a black pilot, I have to wonder whether or not he was a DEI hire and whether or not he or she is qualified to fly my plane. As a black lawyer, someone who, took Series 7 and was in finance in your space, as someone who has ascended the ranks as a black person and done very well in your job, that hurt.
See, it's interesting you say that, to cut you off a little bit. I had this conversation with a dear friend of mine who's become more and more politically affiliated in the recent years and is a big fan of the right and the Trump and the extremists or whatever, in my opinion. And the question is, it's funny because one of Kirk's and I've learned more about him posthumous than I have before I knew who he was. I'd always seen him do that prove me wrong thing where they sit in a little room or whatever. Yep. And there's a number of people that do that, and I get entertainment value out of that. And I respect listening to people's arguments, and I like seeing people prove wrong when I agree with the other side, and I like to see what people have to say. That's why I have a lot of Republican friends, even though I don't consider myself to be a Republican. I like to have the conversations, and I like to go back and forth. And there's a number of guys out there who might be listening who've seen my text back and forth, and we haven't. My wife was always sometimes wondering, why am I wasting my time? And I said, I really just want to hear what they had to say. And I do. I really sincerely want to know your point of view when it's different than mine, because like if somebody, I love scotch. And if you tell me it tastes bad, I want you to explain to me why it's bad, because it tastes so good to me. So I don't understand. So I'd like you to convince it. I look at the same things with sometimes the way we look at things politically. Like, how can you possibly see it that way? And I really want to know. So I do look at it that way. But I would,
and not to interject, Charlie Kirk gets credit for that because he did welcome open debate. So let's give credit where credit is due. He welcomed that. But go ahead.
He welcomed open debate. I feel like when he debated, he was a little bit more. I've seen him get owned in a lot of debates, right? I've seen a lot of it. And I'm not here to really get into that much, but I've seen him get owned with a lot of things that he said, because what happens is when you are on either side, the right or the left, and you do speaking tours and speaking engagements, and everybody froths at the mouth when you say what you're going to say, when you have to go, you can get stupid and sloppy. And a lot with the Trump side, there's so many, I don't want to get too political, but there's so many untruths that get unchecked that when you have to go argue it and somebody throws something at you who knows you're going to say it, you're unarmed because you've been among friendlies too much. So I've seen him get owned quite a bit in some of these debates, but I'll take my hat off to the fact that the man would still go do it, right? He wouldn't just
on college campuses.
On college campuses where he's doing it, and he's going to tell the people in their face on the college campus that they're wasting their time. They shouldn't be here, and that the women shouldn't be here, and they're wasting their time, and they should just be getting married, or they're just here to find the MRS, whatever offensive things that he says. It is what it is. Who cares if I'm offended by it? Who cares if I agree with it? Who cares? Offended is different because I don't care enough about other people's opinions to be offended by them when they're not directed in my face. You know what I mean? If you're just speaking in public, who am I to get offended by it? But I disagree with a lot of what he had to say. You and I went back and forth quite a bit before we did this and decided we were going to do it. Yep. I kind of didn't want to do it. I'm not one of those guys that was going to post anything. I wasn't going to post condolences to his family because honestly, if I'm being honest, I think it's tragic, but people die every day. And I don't send condolences to everybody who's going out there. I think it's disingenuous for people to only have condolences because they agree with his opinion and shun everybody who doesn't. Melissa Ann Hortman, former speaker from Minnesota House, and her husband were gunned down. Not one person that I know of that put a condolence for Kirk put a condolence for her. And to me, it's like people do they have an opinion of convenience. So they're hunting Facebook to find people that say that they don't care about Kirk and say, how could you not care about a human life just because you don't agree with what he has to say? But how can you only care about a human life because you agree with what he has to say? So I challenge all of you out there listening and who will listen to this without making a statement that I didn't put condolences for either of them, right? I didn't do anything for either of them. I didn't condemn either of them. If you ask me how I feel about them, I think that they're both horrible acts and should not have happened and did whatever. But I didn't make a public statement for either of them because I think that it shows your hypocrisy. And I have so many friends out there that do post that, and they just posted for Kirk and they're heartbroken for a man they never met. I mean, I didn't cry when Tupac died, and I didn't cry when Biggie died. And that's Biggie right there. That's my man's, right? But you know what? I never met him. So who am I to cry for? You know what I mean? I got enough people in my life passing away that I have to deal with that really hurt me, that were really part of my life. A character on the screen isn't going to make me do that. But I'm just going to say is when you're out there so mad and you're saying you're one of those people that are celebrating this, you're one of those people. Well, you know what? Again, you didn't have a problem when Hartman got killed and her husband, but now this guy's killed and it bothers you, and now you're saying he's a hero and all these different things. I look at that and I say it's phony. Okay, another thing. What did we see yesterday? We had to close down 3 HBCUs. Right, my daughter's campus. Supposedly there was a shooter on her campus. All these different things. Because why? Some idiots believe that there was a black dude in Utah hiding. First of all,
At large in Utah.
at
That's
large in
not a
Utah,
black.
a brother that
It's not a
shot from
black.
200 yards away. Since we're stereotyping, and since that's what Kirk does, and that's what those shows was all about, stereotypes. Come on. Did we not think this dude was a 22-year-old MAGA guy? Right? So this is a 22-year-old MAGA guy who's had a Trump costume for Halloween. I'm looking at pictures of him right now. He's as right as you want to get. Didn't like this dude, and he's crazy, which a lot of people who are on the far right or far left are crazy. But let's find out how soon this guy's name disappears. You can't tell me the name of the dude right now. I challenge you to tell me the name of the dude who shot at Trump. Can't. Why?
Well,
Because
you might because he just started his trial yesterday and he's representing himself, but most people can't.
most people can't because it doesn't fit a narrative. So
Right.
now they wanted to say, "Oh my God, we're going to go to a." So here's my favorite part is you don't want to say that the man is racist. That the Kirk was racist. You don't want to say he has racist.
Yeah, no, they said that his opposition of DEI was based on philosophy, not race.
Everyone wants to say that. But what happens? The KKK comes out, they're supporting him, and they're, fallen soldier. All these people are calling him a hero as if he was a military guy? I know he didn't go to
No, he
college.
wasn't military. He didn't go to college. He went to college, never finished college, dropped
Yeah.
out, I think.
So now he's this big hero, and wow, okay. The same people who send their kids to college, okay, he's a hero, but colleges are they're teaching liberal stuff, so it's a shame. But I'm still gonna send my son to college and do whatever. Okay, so now he's this big hero and all these different things. But let's go try to kill the blacks on the HBCU campus, who obviously couldn't have anything to do with this. Obviously, they're not organizing and doing whatever. So it's interesting. Again, I have no comment on other than it's wrong to murder anybody. Any words that someone can say that's not even to you directly that would make you mad enough to go and ruin your own life, let alone the fact that you've ruined his life and the people that are in his family or whatever. You ruin your own life by doing it. But that's what nuts do.
And it's a death sentence because Utah governor has already come out and said that they're going to seek the death penalty for this young man, Tyler Robinson, 22 years old. So 2 lives, young lives.
Let's see if they do. He's a Mormon, 22-year-old Mormon kid. Let's see if they seek the death penalty. That's what they said when they were under the belief that it was Antifa. And I've already heard the lies saying that the bullets had Antifa on them. The lies are going to come out of nowhere, but now there's nothing to hide from now. All these pictures, you can see him in a week, people won't be able to remember his name. But go ahead.
I as you describe it, I also want to say because caught was the perfect word for this show because I do think that the people that have been most judgmental and hypocritical in the last 48 hours were also caught. You revealed yourselves. The people that can't, no matter what side of the political aisle that you were on, to make threats to a historically black college and university, that's what HBCU stands for, on the heels of this tragic death by this young man being killed is in itself tragic. 31 years old, wife and kids,
Couldn't believe he was that young.
shot down senselessly at an event. That's tragic. But to automatically assume and take actions that support that assumption that it was somebody black, you revealed your racism. You're caught. You showed yourself. You gave yourself up. You dined yourself out. It seems like unimaginable that at large in Utah, you would think that it was a black person. You're also caught in the sense that you know that black people had an absolute meaningful reason to despite Charlie Kirk. When you say that a black pilot is automatically not given the presumption of qualified, you're saying that you're right. That's racist. You might not want to own it.
Especially B, and I hate to interrupt you again. I'm sorry, you let me talk.
Sure.
Especially because people act as if the whole DEI thing drives me nuts because people just assume because you're black, and to give him credit, some of what he was saying is he thinks DEI is to blame for the reason why he has those thoughts. And that's BS. Right. That's just being stupid. But to his
correlation and causation, I get it.
He's trying to do it. But the thing about it that's so stupid is you can't just go. They don't just go hire black people and make them pilots. To be a pilot, you have to go to flight school. I know a lot of people who know how to fly planes, and they tell me they could never fly a commercial jet because they don't have near the hours, they don't have near the training or whatever. They want you to believe, and this is the rhetoric that doesn't need to be out there. Is he wants you to believe when you see this black pilot that person didn't go through the same training as a white pilot. Idiotic. They want you to believe that person wants to take your appendix out, didn't have to pass the same medical boards, didn't have to go through the same residency, and didn't have to go through the same thing as someone white. I asked you earlier.
That hypothetical he used, and we might as well quote him verbatim while he's still alive. He said that, when it was HR personnel or paper pushers, it was fine. But if I'm about to get my appendix taken out and a black lesbian is my doctor, I'm now afraid that DEI might have put this unqualified person in the room that's going to take my appendix out. Sorry to interrupt, but
you're great. And you know what? Mr. Fantastic over here, he had something great because
Fantastic, if for those who are listening to audio, is a commenter from the live audience. And go ahead. Just wanted to make sure I gave the background.
Yeah, live audience. So here's the thing is, I should look it up. I wish I had it ready for me, but DEI. So, and again, you have to go to Kirk and blame him for this. Every example he has about DEI is black. Black people are the fourth or fifth largest recipients of DEI benefit. White women. So again, white women are the number one beneficiary of DEI hires. But again, when you see a black person, you think, is he a DEI hire? So you want to instill all this fear and hatred and questioning of people that have gone through all this school for a man that didn't go to college, that went through undergrad, who did well in high school, did well in undergrad, got into a medical school, which I don't care what color you are, what your sexual orientation is, it's going to be the best of the best. It's going to be very competitive to get through. They went through med school, they passed boards, they went through residency before someone put that scalpel on their hand, and you're saying, man, this person's black. I wonder if this person even graduated from junior high. Do you say that when it's a woman doctor? Do you say that when it's any other group? But he's the one who keeps going back towards black. So I want you guys who are listening to this and are on the other side of this and you're mourning him because you think you lost a hero. If you did think you lose a hero, then that's your opinion. But think about what everyone else is hearing and what they're saying and what he's pushing and the rhetoric that he's trying to push out.
That's why we're caught.
Everything about the DEI that he put out was black or gay, right? Knowing that those two people are the smallest groups of people, I don't even think gay is probably 6th or 7th as far as like representation.
Beneficiaries from DEI programs. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, when you're going through, I don't even know if they started asking your sexual orientation on those things, which no one's ever asked me. I mean, I guess if you were transgender and they might ask you how you identify. I've never had anyone ask me my sexual orientation on something. So now you're saying that if the person is gay, that you don't think that they went through all the schooling that everyone else did. Now, as he mentioned before, when it was HR, he was right. HR people didn't care. They looked at the HR and said, all right, we can put some people here. It's not going to be critical. And honestly, that's where I think the DEI hires probably happened the most. You see more black people and women in HR, and they did that. Now, again, I'm pro giving opportunities because let's go to DEI, and this show's taking this left turn. I love talking about sports, but
we about to turn it back in 2 seconds.
DEI didn't come around. This is my statement. DEI didn't come out because someone just said, "Hey, we need to find a way to just give women and minorities all these opportunities." It came about in reaction to the fact that they were locked out for decades, hundreds of years, locked out of working, and it's a lot easier to say, hey, listen, we're going to give you guys incentives to hire because not every black and woman can get a lawyer and sue you for not hiring them for a job every single time it happens. Most of the time it just goes whatever. So we figured they would do the carrot and do that. So anyway, I digress. At the end of the day, there's a lot of back and forth on the internet about how you should feel about it. And I think you should feel about it how you should. I would suggest, it's up to you, but I would suggest you don't celebrate the death of anybody on the internet, even if it's somebody in war, somebody that somewhere war against. It's still the death. It's still a soul that was created that's taken off. But at the same time, you should feel no obligation to offer condolences or cry or put your flag at half mast or anything for anybody that you don't want to do that for.
This is why we're caught in between a rock and a hard place. I agree with you. And I've said it several times, tragic that a 31-year-old with wife and kids will no longer be able to go kiss his wife and kiss his kids. But in one of those debates on a college campus, Mr. Charlie Kirk himself took the very opposite approach when it came to the sensitivity around George Floyd's death. And when I say people are caught between a rock and a hard place, they are. As you're looking at this, there's nothing short of tragic when you think someone showed up on a college campus to deliver his message and was shot. But those who are taking offense to their friends, some of which are probably black, and responding to some of the positions that Charlie Kirk took, some of which are probably women, and took opposition to the positions that Charlie Kirk took. If you are just completely offended that someone would say something out of bounds in the same venue, online, social media, that Charlie Kirk used to become a household name, if you are offended they're taking certain positions that you would disagree with, you're being hypocritical. Charlie Kirk stood for freedom of speech. His extreme viewpoints that he was willing to share on social media and on these college campuses is why you know his name.
And this is a man that said empathy is a woke construct. I may have misquoted him, but I got the gist of it.
He also said there's going to be a few lives that we have to sacrifice in order to protect our Second Amendment rights. You can't run from the message of the messenger now. His messages were loud and clear, and in ways I think it connected to a particular subsection of our country and a certain ideology of our country that has a bunch of history behind it. He talked about reparations being laughable for black people, while
civil rights movement he said never should have happened.
Welfare and all of these things that he talked about, and said that it has put black people in a disadvantageous position while completely ignoring the success of Jews. Yeah, there's reparations at the end of the Holocaust where people came over. He talked about Asians. After internment, there were reparations. And so whether we can argue until the cows come home about the factual aspects of it, but his ability to say it, that freedom of speech is what was celebrated. And so even in this moment, a day after he was tragically, or 2 days after he was tragically killed, on the day where they apprehended who is the lead suspect, if you see people online saying something that you don't agree with, get over it. It is at the core of who Charlie Kirk was, protecting freedom of speech. People are allowed to say it, even if you don't agree with it. And that's why I say we're stuck in between this rock and a hard place, because you can't defend a message when it's convenient for you. And then on the heels of him getting killed, you're basically trying to undermine that entire message. People can say what they want to say. The Carolina Panthers, and this is how it connects to sports business entertainment. The Carolina Panthers fired. Let him go. Get out of here, my guy. They fired a man named Charlie Rock. Charlie Rock was a young communications coordinator for the Carolina Panthers who posted what they called an insensitive post. In the caption, it says, "Why are y'all sad? Your man said it was worth it," referring to his statement that we're going to lose some lives and they're going to be worth the loss to protect our Second Amendment right. Charlie Rock put that in his caption. And then he also put with a Wu-Tang picture, "Protect your neck." Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck, and Charlie Rock, who is a former employee of the Carolina Panthers now, his employment, unfortunately for him, has been terminated. Thursday night football comes on. Not on normal TV. You had to have that Amazon Prime stuff. But lo and behold, I was able to watch it last night. And in the beginning of the game,
pirated Prime. I know how you are. You pirated Prime. I could tell. You look like one of the pirates.
You can't.
With that gold on your neck, you look like a pirate. You pirated in Prime. I know you borrowed somebody's password. Hey, one of your friends got 37 houses.
Hey, I know that the title is caught. I'm not caught yet. Stop snitching on me.
I caught you. I know you don't have that subscription.
But at the beginning of the game, my son, my youngest, my baby boy, unfortunately, is a Green Bay Packers fan. Because of our bedtime, his bedtime, he doesn't get to watch a lot of the games. So I need to watch the beginning of it to make him feel like he's a part of it. The beginning of the game. What does the NFL and the Green Bay Packers, what do? They take a moment of silence on behalf of Charlie Kirk. On the same day in Colorado that there was a school shooting where 2 students were injured, and the gunman, I'm pretty sure was the only death there, turned the gun on themselves. But kids are terrified. Parents are terrified. School shooting, you hear school shooting, you're terrified. On that same day, they did a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. And I don't have any issue with anyone taking this time to mourn and bereave. It makes sense. It does. But the same NFL and some of the same people that are mourning right now the death of Charlie Kirk were very outspoken about they want to take their politics out of their football. Charlie Kirk is a household name because he was a political podcaster. He is a definition of ideological, political conversation and debate. And the Green Bay Packers decided to do a moment of silence on his behalf. Now, this is why I say we're caught between a rock and a hard place. I'd go out on a limb and say if that same game was in Maryland or Virginia, wherever the Washington Commanders play now, where it used to be FedEx Stadium, now Northwest Stadium, if that same game between those same 2 teams under that same league was played away for the Green Bay Packers versus a home game, I would go out on a limb to say we probably would not have had a moment of silence. As a country, we are caught between these extremes. And we see when it is campaign time that campaigns are won by the middle. Primaries are won at the extremes. And then when we get into the general, it's won in the middle. So as a country, we are caught in between these very, very polarizing extremes. And I just pray that somehow, some way we figure it out. Should we be sad that a 31-year-old got killed? Yes. But could you understand where someone would say, unfortunately, what we saw is in ways what he encouraged. And
So, Charlie, and I'm not talking about Kirk. I'm talking about Mr. X.
Charlie Rock from the Panthers.
Charlie Rock. It's one of those things where the irony here is the reason why Charlie Kirk is popular is because he says things that people are scared to say. Period, point blank. Hard stop. There's a lot of people out there who have the same views as him and they're scared to say it, and they like his bravery of being able to go around and say it unapologetically. Unfortunately, that doesn't work in corporate America, but it works when you're a guy that doesn't work for anybody and you're just going and getting speaking tours and you're doing whatever and you're willing to debate. It caused something. That what we and this is a lesson to children and a lesson to people out there is like, you can't do what others can do. So Charlie can do that because he doesn't work for anybody. Charlie Kirk, he can do it. Work for when you work for somebody, you can't make posts like protect your neck. You know, there's some people
you down yourself out, Charlie Rock.
You can't do that. And I think you've learned a lesson that the freedom of speech doesn't apply when you have a job. It applies when you work for yourself and you do whatever. And again, people absolutely I saw someone melt down in Utah. He's gonna lose his mind because they look for that. The reason why Donald Trump is so popular is because Donald Trump doesn't have a lot of class and he says things that are classless that people who want to say. We all have classless things we want to say. So I'm not holier than anyone. We all have things that we want to say that are terrible that you know that we can't say because we have titles that we wear, you know, employer, father, husband, whatever. You know, you whisper, you look over your shoulder, make sure your wife's not listening when you say something a little sexist or whatever. You know, everybody's got little things like that, but you got to learn and Mr. Panther Charlie, you learn that, you know, where you got to chuckle out of that post, you probably should have got your Twitter fingers under control. It was a really stupid decision. You lost your job. It's going to be hard to get another one. You know how hard it is to get a job in the NFL. You know that the NFL is largely conservative ownership group. You screwed yourself for a couple chuckles. So I hope you learned your lesson.
But I will say this, and you're right, Big Flo, right? You can be very right and be wrong. Maybe he was right to take issue with Charlie Kirk, but wrong platform, wrong venue. But I will say this, the irony of him being fired for a post that was insensitive, but insensitive about a man that used his entire career to build himself up for freedom of speech, saying things that were controversial and were absolutely insensitive. Because when I hear, I get on a plane and see a black pilot and I think DEI, I remember being the only black man at a law firm and knowing what that feeling was when I walked in with a client and all of a sudden they looking like, I don't think this guy can handle this matter. I remember what it felt like being the only black person at a financial firm and always having people question whether or not I can do the job. And so while Charlie Kirk was just making a statement, it hit a nerve for people personally. And for all of you who were Charlie Kirk fans, I do hope that you can sleep at night and you mourn in a way that you have the freedom to do that. But damn, are we just inhumane where we don't understand where other people could look at that and question you for supporting him, but also refuse to truly mourn at the same level that you do because of the things that he said?
Now, one thing I want to be fair, because I do think that in this soundbite world and things get cut off, to be fair, what Charlie Kirk was trying to say, from what I heard, probably 4 or 5 different quotes, is that he is blaming DEI on his feelings. Now, I'm not giving him a pass, but his statement was, because of DEI, that's why I have to question it. But if it wasn't for DEI, here's the thing is, I call bullshit on that.
Yeah,
because DEI has only been a term for
tomatoes, but that doesn't.
DEI has only been a term for like 5 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like, We have 10 years. You know what I mean?
And
We
not
haven't
to
really.
mention the qualifications, the steps that you have to take. I had to take not
And
one but
that's
two
the part
bar
of it where I
exams.
felt
I had to take the
irresponsible.
LSAT to get to law school. I had to finish law school. Like, get the hell out of here with that. I get what you're saying, but come on, man. Come on.
But that's and again, that's a whole nother conversation. But it's people blaming bigotry. People say, "Oh, I don't like black people." Listen to your music. Listen to the music. Your music is violent, so that's why I don't like you. You don't like me because you're racist, right?
He had something controversial to say about rap music. There was a lot of like
Fine.
dog whistles in what he said.
But whatever he said was fine. Like I tend to look at a lot of stuff on social media, and I've seen him a bunch of times, and I still couldn't have given you, other than the last 48 hours, I couldn't have given you a big picture of who he was until I've given him some solid listens because I'm just not interested, and other people are. So at the end of the day, I think the lessons we learned here is people are gonna people are hypocrites in general. So I see I have a lot of friends who are complete hypocrites on what they celebrate and how they choose to be offended. The term snowflake, I think, applies a lot more on the right than it does on the left at this point right now. But what'll happen is we'll get offended by something and butt hurt and all that stuff, which I think if you look in the mirror, people are offended and butt hurt. But I do think that you have to have a standard for yourself, and I have to catch myself on this in my life a lot, is you got to stay who you are, right? And if you are someone who considers yourself to have empathy and sympathy, don't make that go away when something when it becomes convenient. Don't flip. Now, I think there's people on the right that are fans of him that are flip flopping and not being true to themselves and didn't have anything to say about the speaker when she was murdered, and no one was saying it's just even the fact that Charlie said there's a couple deaths are okay. Resist the temptation to go publicly and say, see, I know whatever, because at the end of the day, that is somebody's husband, that is somebody's kid, and even though you don't know their
somebody's
kids,
dad, somebody's
whatever.
neighbor.
So I say be sensitive to that. And I say to my friends that like I try not to offend folks. And if people tell me something is offensive that doesn't really have a lot of meaning for me, then I try to avoid the activity or whatever, because my goal is not to offend people. My goal is to not make people feel bad. Now, if you're my friend, I'm gonna talk bad about you and offend you all the time because that's how I show love.
I
But
know
to somebody, you're witness to that. If someone at work or somebody in public or somebody I don't know or whatever, I try to be Mr. Polite, man. I let people in traffic. I say, excuse me, I hold doors. I do all the different things like that. Try to be a nice member of society. And I don't think there's any room for celebrating the death of anybody. Even if you feel justified and you want to get in an argument, there's no room for that. If you choose to do it, it's freedom of speech. But I just think that the consequences come with it. Unfortunately, Kirk got the consequence of freedom of speech. And the thing that's just so crazy is he got shot by one of his, technically, if you look by groups, one of his own,
Yeah,
and
I think that's a good segue, because when you say technically one of his own, that's where this show title comes from. We're caught in the middle of some shit, y'all. Like, how does political discourse and disagreement end with a 31-year-old man dying? How does freedom of speech amount to every time I hear one of his videos? We were gonna play one of his videos, and I just said, nah, we Big Flow, and I decided, nah, we probably can't even play it. How does it amount to that? We're caught in the middle of like these wild, volatile, extreme ideologies, beliefs, feelings, and the most important feeling of us being humane to one another and living a life that is one that, for me, recognizing being a child of God, regardless of what your politics are, it seems like it's going in the wind, and we gotta rein it back in. While we're caught in the middle of it, we gotta do more. And then and when we do more, like you said, Big Flow Show, treat people with the dignity that you would want them to treat you with, even if they don't have enough dignity to treat you with it. And that's where I'm at with it. And I hate that a 31-year-old lost his life. And to be truthful, the 22-year-old has lost his life now too. That government is done.
You said something earlier that threw me off. You just told me somebody's representing themselves. And I said, weren't we talking about the guy who shot at Trump? Him dead.
Or somebody else. There was another attempt.
I was like, wait a minute. Why did
Yeah. Now there's
why didn't I
another
know
attempt
that?
on
I was
Trump.
like, because
He's
he's
been shot
dead.
at twice. He's been
Huh?
shot at twice. Two or there
Oh,
was
the
a
one in
plot. I don't know
Mar-a-Lago?
if he
The
actually
guy that's hiding in
shot
the
him.
bushes? The guy that hiding in the bushes at Mar-a-Lago, that guy?
Yeah.
But the thing that people, and again,
Assassination attempt, not
the
an
thing,
actual
the thing
shooting.
about it, the thing about it that's crazy is like ultimately it's a fanboy. Like they assume that somebody from the left went out and they did this, and everyone was again. The lies come out. It's Antifa, George Soros. There was a plane that was flying that was off the radar. The plane that was flying off the radar for a while. They assumed it was this big escape thing. They want this conspiracy. Nope, it was just some crazy
From
right
Utah.
wing, huh?
The guy was from Utah.
Yeah, it's some young
They
dude from
found him
Utah, right wing
250
fanboy that didn't
miles
like
away. They
a lot
found
of
him
people.
250 miles away. His dad turned him in. Even
Yeah,
the whole pageantry of, we got him. I see the governor. I see, our president. President Trump was on Fox and Friends this morning, basically like championing the fact that we got him. And the governor, first words out of his mouth, we got him. We caught him. And that's why this episode is caught, because truth be told, man, some of the energy or lack thereof that's been put into catching gunmen when on the other end of that gun is someone black, there's a lot less energy into that.
to tell you,
Some of the
you
energy
give
and
it
the
2 weeks
tragedy.
maximum. 2 weeks max just to be out of the news because he's not from the left. They don't. I knew he wasn't from the left. There's not a lot of people from the left can make a shot from 200 yards. All right, the left don't have those type of skills. That skill set's bad. So I knew it was going to come out that it was a fanboy. At the end of the day, it was a deranged fanboy, right? That did it, but they wanted it so bad to be somebody from the left. They wanted it to be somebody named.
They wanted it to be freaking, I don't know, D.L. Hughley himself or some extreme leftist that has a platform. They would have loved for that person to be caught literally red-handed with a gun in his hand. And that narrative is
I
one
guarantee
that is
you
lazy.
this. I guarantee you they don't seek the death penalty. Guaranteed. I guarantee it. I bet that you want to bet on this. This thing is going to be out. There's no more narrative.
They're going to seek the gun.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
He's a Mormon from Utah. One of them. As far as if we want to do us and them, he's one of them. They're not going to kill this dude. They're going to say he's deranged. They're going to blame it on mental health. They're going to blame it on COVID. They're going to say because of COVID and during the shutdown. I don't know if Utah. I'm telling you, I talk to Trumpers all the time. We're going to start hearing the blame is going to switch, but there's no narrative here, and it's going to go. Man, sometimes you get killed, and he happens to be somebody who's polarizing, but he got killed. The guy decided I didn't like him. You know how many times people get killed by stalkers and fans? That's all this dude's going to turn out to be, as a stalker and a fan. I don't want to minimize the whole death thing, but the whole political thing and all this t-shirts that are going to come out and glasses with a bullet in it and fight, all that stuff, it's going to die because they're going to be like
one of the bullets that they recovered. It had something like "fascists catch this." Another reason why today's episode is entitled "Caught." We are literally we're catching all of the emotions and the tug of war that Charlie Kirk represents something that is, at this point, as American pie. Use public platforms to say what you want to say, rile up whoever your side is and your ideology is, and after you throw that rock, hide your hands. And I don't care what ideology you are. We're in the middle of what, and as Scott Bidd, thanks for the comment, said that Fox and Friends said something to the effect that this is war. But we should be really coming together and putting on a uniform war against who we have become. We are caught, y'all. We're caught in between ideology, political parties, extremists, between a rock and a hard place. We're caught. And until we release ourselves from it, we're going to have these type of tragedies happen way too often. I did want to get back to sports, business, entertainment. So let's final word if you have one.
Stop shooting at folks.
Stop shooting at people. Hurt people, man. Let's come together and stop being hurt. Uh, I did want to get back to the game because while the moment of silence before the game, I pointed out, there was an actual game after that. And the Green Bay Packers beat up on the Washington Commanders, and they did so largely because of that defense. On this episode of Caught, you know who else is caught? Jerry Jones. You caught red-handed, dog. He tried to make us believe that arguably the best player defensively in the NFL was disposable. And in the post-game interview, you hear, if you watch it, I got Amazon, y'all, so I was able to watch the game last night. I don't know about y'all. I was able to watch the game.
You gotta give him some suggestions because you know his password gonna get reset by the end of the weekend.
You dying me out. Let me tell you what I'm doing. But I watched the game, and afterwards, all you can hear in the background, thank you, Jerry. Yo, Jerry Jones has to be a fool. And Scott Bibb, who was watching live, don't run down, because he's a Cowboys fan.
I knew that was Cowboy fan. You know what? I was like, there's no way this much hate unless you like the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah, he's a Cowboys fan. Told him so. He's caught too. But what Jerry Jones did by way of Michael Parsons is he also revealed what is being said in those owners' meetings. What is being said behind closed doors. They are caught. There's in no other world are you going to make the best player defensively, the best player in the whole NFL that disposable. What he did was he showed on behalf of all the owners just how little they think of the product that is the NFL, the players out there on the field. So I'm rooting for, I can't root for the Green Bay Packers because, again, my youngest son, who's the contrarian of the family, is a Packers fan. So I'm rooting for them to lose. But I hope that Michael Parsons goes off, has a defensive player of the year type season, because he is not just representing the Green Bay Packers. He is not just representing all the players when it comes to hierarchy and the org chart in terms of meaningful power when it comes to that business of the NFL. He's representing us all. There's no reason that someone that talented should be considered that disposable. So go ahead, Michael Parsons, do your thing. I don't know if you watched the game, you had any words when it comes to the game before we hop on to the next topic, but I had to get that off my chest.
I was putting a little QT, so I gotta be honest. I ain't watched that much of the game, but you know, the
Packers, romantic, huh? You romantic.
Well, what TV? That's sometimes wifey. Every once in a while, I get wifey a little time. But so I had to sacrifice my Thursday nights. We got to get warmed up for Law and Order when they come back on. But I digress. I think my
man Jan Banks is a Cowboy too. What up, Coach Banks? Coach Banks is a real coach. He ain't one of them poachers, man. He out there working hard for the kids, man. When he took a year off, I think this year, but working hard for the kids. Good to see good men with young men. I love that. But anyway, I digress. But he is a Cowboys fan. Sorry for you, man.
So here's the thing: is I hate the Cowboys. I do. And what pissed me off about the situation is how your stupidity become my problem. So now you got to send this man to my division. I got to see him twice.
Not once, twice.
Wouldn't common sense say trade him to the AFC?
You see what they did to Detroit in that first game. But go ahead.
Wouldn't common sense trade him to the AFC? Somewhere far, far away. I'd rather have you. I mean, if I'm a NFC team, send him to the Chiefs.
Somewhere.
I like
anywhere but in your conference.
You couldn't beat the Packers in the playoffs when you had them.
Yeah.
Now you want to put him between you and the Super Bowl?
He was wreaking havoc on the quarterback. I felt bad for my man Daniels at one point. I'm like, yo, man, even when he wasn't getting it, I think he only ended with 0.5 sacks. I think he had 2 tackles. But if you watch the game, right, like that's how stats can be misleading. He had an impact on every defensive play. Every snap, they had to account for where he was lined up. He's coming off that doggone edge like he's possessed. And even when he don't get there, he didn't get there because the quarterback had to do anything, everything. Cartwheel, electric slide, and do the what's the one called? The Cupid shuffle. Everything to get out of the way of that man. He's coming with bad intentions. He has an impact on every play. And yet, Jerry Jones showed us that in his organization, franchise, and in every other franchise, the owners look at them as chattel that can be moved around. You caught, Jerry.
So,
Go ahead and ball out, Michael.
man, I want to say this. Look, man, I put your post up here because I believe in freedom of speech, but I also had to tell you I don't believe in hate speech, and I think your words are hurtful and hateful. And I don't think
his words are. Might as well read them. Cowboys would never have choked like the Bears. Ooh.
First of all, let's just start off. That's a false statement.
Oh, when somebody starts, first of all, they can go in.
First of all, that's a false statement. Okay. Because you guys choke all the fucking time. I don't know what team you've been watching, but the Cowboys choke all the fucking time. Matter of fact, I don't know if there's another team that chokes as often as the Cowboys.
If you might have caught you there.
Let's just start off with that. Second of all, it's too soon, right? The game that you saw, I was at that game on just this past Monday, right?
Y'all had a chance.
It's too soon to talk about how we choked. I'm still hurting from that game. Yeah. So I think it's rather insensitive of you to come out here on my show and put that post out there. All right. You said the Cowboys were delusional. I just agree with you. And now you came and tried to bring it to my house. So I'm waiting for your apology post. I'll wait.
Well, look, while you waiting on an apology,
and then you double down.
This
is how folks get blocked. This is how folks get blocked. Now you double down and you try to get sexy with the word too. Fuck you, Scott Bill. I said it.
Hey, freedom of speech. I will say this, man, because while the NBA and its offseason is interesting, there's the ladies on the other side, man, I think are doing a phenomenal job. And one particular young lady for the WNBA is showing her ass, acting a donkey, as we say down south. Napheesa Collier ended the regular season. For those of you who don't know, the regular season ended last night. The WNBA playoffs are set up to start. But Napheesa Collier ended the season at 50, 40, 90. She's in the 50, 40, 90 club. There's only one other player in WNBA history that has ever done that. And even that person is in the class below. That's what's her name? What's her name? Elena Deladonna.
I was in that club one time.
She was a 50, 40, 90 person. Say that again.
Huh? I was in that club one time. They had a drink special. I don't know where it is. 50, 40, 90. Did you define 50, 40, 90 for everybody?
50, 40, 90 is this. That means you are 50% field goal percentages from the field, 40% from behind the arc, 3-point line, and 90% from behind the free throw line. And the only person that's ever done it was our girl who I messed up her name. Say it again.
Deladonna is her
Deladonna. But when she did it, she did not average 20 points a game. Napheesa Collier has done it, averaging close to 23 points a game. And I think sort of sealed the deal on her getting an MVP. But what this 50, 40, 90 club also represents, because on the Ball Hawk Sports Talk is where sports business and entertainment collide, is the business of the WNBA is booming. It's booming. And the viewership proves that. The WNBA viewership has been up year over year versus 2024. And we want to celebrate. Here on the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, we have celebrated this doggone WNBA before it became vogue, before viewership went up, before Caitlin Clark, before they had a competitor, an unrivaled. We talked about how women's basketball is really coming to full form and some great basketball. In 2025, the average viewership is up 21% over the entire 2024 year. We had record-breaking numbers, and now we got someone like Napheesa Collier doing her thing. Let's give it up for the girls. On this episode of Caught, if you still doubting you caught, you're a sexist. That's misogynistic. But you need to make sure that you catch one of these games. I caught several of them this year, and I'm happy that I did. Napheesa Collier, great regular season. Let's see what they do in the playoffs. But let's celebrate the ladies. Let's celebrate the WNBA. And I do that on today purposely because we started off talking about your boy Charlie Kirk, who had some really misogynistic viewpoints. Let's fist up, celebrate WNBA. I don't know if you had anything for it, but I wanted to slide that in before we got out of here.
No, Scott Bibb he made a good now I'm not gonna post it. I don't like his choice of words, but he made a good point though. Everything plummeted after after Caitlin Clark got hurt. Even though she was having a terrible year, that's what shows you kind of her marketing greatness, kind of like the Tiger Woods effect. If
Yeah.
Tiger Woods is golfing this weekend, even though Tiger Woods is trash at golf right now, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna see what's going on. And Caitlin Clark was playing horribly this year.
Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was 136 years old when he fought that YouTuber, and we watched it.
Yeah. And I watched Caitlin Clark, I'm gonna watch, but she had a bad year. Our girl here in Chicago got hurt. The nemesis,
Angel Reese.
And I don't know if I've heard. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. Anyone post? They say this might be her last game in the Chicago uniform, but that threw me off. I don't know what I haven't heard. If there's been,
I don't know why. I don't know if they do 2-year deals in that rookie contract. We should have known that. I'll look it up. But yeah, I heard that too. There might be, and I do see that the WNBA does tend to move pieces around a lot quicker. But hopefully Angel Reese will be in Chicago because y'all need something there. Bears gonna keep letting you down.
Hey, but the Cubs, I think are still in second. Leading the wild card race.
Let's get to this other story, man, before we get out of here, man, because I wanted to bring it up. For years, I've been talking about not understanding the ranking system in college football. And last weekend, USF beat University of Florida. And one of the voters did something unthinkable, which still had Florida in her assessment over USF. USF beat Florida at home, and we might as well just show what she said because it'll make the point, I think. But it's got me questioning this whole concept of rankings this early. I've always hated preseason rankings, but even early season rankings. When she said this.
But as far as what my votes are and what my process is, I wake up early in the morning after covering a game late in the night before. Don't want to go too much into my progress or process or logic, but I will say I appreciate everybody's interaction on social media and all of your feedback. But, there's tons of people that vote on the AP poll, and it's not a perfect system, but at the end of the day, no matter who you pick, it does even out because there's so many people who vote. And like I said, it's really fun for discussion. It doesn't, probably matter in the end, but I'm glad that people are having a really good time with it. But as far as what
she got killed in social media. Killed her.
She deserved everything. It was such a bad interview.
Killed. People talked about her bad. I'm talking about
she should have just not spoke. I don't know why she spoke.
But I think college football got caught because they took her to town with her vote that made no sense. And she felt compelled in this world and appropriate on this day that the conversation has circled largely around Charlie Kirk to take to social media to defend herself. I think college football is caught. They got exposed. You got people like this voting. She wanted us to give her a pat on the back for waking up early.
That's the only thing she said. I got up at 5 in the morning.
You got to vote. You're supposed to watch the games.
I don't want to go too much into my process. Go into your process. That's exactly. If you're not going to go into your process, why are you on the mic? That's the only thing you should be able to do is come and say, okay, listen.
This is why I did it.
This is why I did it. Because I think Florida had this, that, and this didn't go their way, and this is bad, and I still think they're a stronger team, and they just got beat. Okay. But to say I will go into my process, and I don't want to mimic her because I don't want to sound disparaging and sound like I'm thinking more, but you look like somebody caught, right? When you start smiling, when somebody caught, the first thing they do is, if it's not going to take them, get them killed, the first thing they do is smile. They're like, oh, shit. A defense mechanism. I don't want to go into it. It's not that important. Are you kidding me? I saw one of the comments this is a livelihood. Are you kidding me? The fact of someone being ranked is the difference between them getting a contract and not getting a contract. To say, well, there's a lot of voters, it doesn't really matter. Well, we should just get rid of yours then. Then it doesn't matter. If you don't think your vote matters, get her out of here.
Get her out of here.
That was a bad thing. Sometimes better to say nothing.
Much better to say nothing if that's what you're going to say. And you took to social media to engage with people who are calling you out. And that's all you got. You better have a prepared message that is substantive.
I know we can see their votes like that. Where do you go to see the individual voters?
I don't know where they found their vote. Great question. But they found her. And man, I mean, I think it was an outlier vote because who's going to vote USF over UF?
She didn't know they played. That's to tell you how bad it was. She didn't know they played. She literally just went down there.
That's why she defended. I watch all the games. You ain't watch that game, girl. You ain't watch that game.
It's not like, okay, I understand if you beat a team in week 9 that they could still be ranked higher than you.
Yeah.
You whatever. Not in week 2. Not in week 2. The body of work's not there.
Yeah. Or technically week 1. The first week 0. Scott Bibbs said her process is a crack pipe. Man, I got way too many family members as crackheads.
USF and Florida have only played one game each?
Say again?
USF and Florida have only played one game each?
I think so.
That's the worst in the world.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, actually, because
at least give me 2 games.
I don't remember Florida playing a week 0 game. I know USF normally going to get you a week 0 game. But you calling a crack pipe, don't you insult all my family members that are crackheads. Crackheads make better decisions than that. Don't you insult them. I'll give you, man, let's go to Ball Hog Spotlight moment. You know what it is. It could be anything. It could be nothing. But on this episode of Caught, we're going to close it out with our Ball Hog Spotlight moment. You got the ball. Middle of the court. They call the ISO. We need a bucket. We count on you. Be a ball hog. What you got?
I think this is a big weekend for college football. For some of these matchups, I think South Florida. My ball hog moment is, how is South Florida north of Central Florida? That should be my ball hog moment because we had that argument earlier. I could not believe
I can't explain
that it's north. That's why Florida. That's why Florida is the butt of a lot of jokes, man. Because South Florida is north of Central Florida. But
for those who don't know, like in our green room conversation, I said South Florida. He's like, what part of South Florida is it? I was like, actually, it's not in South Florida at all.
Tampa. I said, how does that go? I said, well, then they said, well, what maybe Central Florida is way north, and we just said South relative. Nope, Central Florida is further south than South.
So slightly.
But it made me think it was warm. I mean, Tampa's warm anyway, so I don't know why they're hiding. They could have just called it University. You know what? It's because University of Tampa was taken.
It's taken already. Yeah,
it was already taken.
So, and University of Florida was taken. They should have called it the University of Other Florida, the other University of Florida. How about that?
I'm going to find out. Anyone out there wants to find out who's older, University of Florida, University of South Florida, or University of Tampa. If Tampa is not an older school, we really starting to scratch our head here.
Yeah, I don't know why South Florida.
And there is a West Florida too. There's a lot of different things. So Central West Florida didn't look as good on a T-shirt. There's a lot of reasons for that. But I think that game versus Miami and the Notre Dame game versus Texas A&M is going to be two of those matchups that help define a lot of stuff. We start seeing it. I think Notre Dame is better than the team that got beat. I think they got better in the second half. I think the quarterback started off looking kind of trash, but if I'm being fair, your first game is in the Big Lights, the only game in town against University of Miami. That's a tough one, but I thought they came back and made that a respectable game.
On the road,
I'm looking for big things. Yeah, it's a huge for us to just lose by a field goal. I think I'm not a moral victory guy, but I just think it shows the signs that this team has an opportunity. We'll see what we do against A&M. I think we see what South Florida does against Miami. Again, I don't know who Florida is, but I like week 4. At the end of week 4, I start to really – that's when I want to see the rankings. I don't want to see the rankings week 1, 2, and 3 because people get beat left and right. It's a popularity contest. Top 10 teams finish there's been top 10 teams that don't make a bowl game preseason. It makes conversation. It used to sell newspapers, but makes for conversation, gets people to click. But we got to see it. So I'm looking forward to college football this week.
Right on. My ball hole spotlight moment. I'm going to end where I started. I'm going right back to youth football. And I talked about coaches. My man, Coach Banks was here. Big Banks is in the building. I pay respect to him. And I'm going to bring it back to that word respect. If you are a coach, I respect the fact that you're giving your time and youth sports. But the truth be told is, in this world of social media where we're posting things for likes, it means an absolute grand total of nothing if the parents and the people around like you. The way that I go about doing it, there's going to be a lot of people who don't like me because I come from a place of experience. I come from a place of passion. And I come from a place of being unapologetic when it comes to my coaching style. So people might not like me, but there's a bunch of people that don't like me that have to respect me. And if you aren't someone that's trying to make sure that you are respected, and when I say respect, they know that every kid is going to get coached up very well. They know every kid is going to eventually take something from that coaching that they can apply to their life. They know that every kid is going to be near and dear to my heart as a coach. If you're not doing it for respect, you're doing it for the wrong reason. Simple and plain. I was asked a question about the NFL, and I was like, the thing that I'm most proud of is that no matter what locker room I was in, right? I played in a time where there was only 5 people on the practice squad, and you could only be on the practice squad 2 years. That impacted a lot of people's career. And so while others who don't know anything might think, oh, if you didn't play 10 years, you must not have been that good. Nah, truth be told is, whether it be Green Bay, Cleveland, go back to Notre Dame, you won't find a single soul that ever played with me that didn't respect how I went out there and balled out. Respect when it comes to sports is way more valuable than likes. Don't let this social media fool you. Get caught and get exposed if you want to, or take this advice. For all of us that are going to be arguing all week about Charlie Kirk and now the person who has been apprehended, Tyler Robinson, I beg you to do so with some humanity and with some respect for one another. This has been our show. It has been phenomenal. Big Flow Show. Travel safely as you go watch your most precious assets on the planet, which are your kids. Congratulations, my brother.
I got some Bitcoin. Don't talk about it. I got Bitcoin too.
You got Bitcoin too?
Because you're saying my most precious asset. I got a couple Bitcoin.
Bitcoin ain't more precious than the babies, though. For all of you who, thank you, man. My man Scott B, a great dad. 2 great dads, as are you, my man. For all of you who joined us today, first of all, we say thank you, and we ask you humbly, please come back next week. We also ask you humbly, he's so distracted. So distracted. For those of you who can't see, he said brown suck. No, we don't. This is our year, I think. But we also ask you all to we ask you humbly, please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone that you know, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. You can do it even if you're not on the live version of it. You will help us tremendously by getting our voices and our opinions in someone else's ear. So do us a favor. It won't cost you anything, but you might be benefiting someone to hear some sports, business, and entertainment. We do it rough, rugged, and raw. A few businessmen get together to discuss sports in an entertaining fashion. This has been a labor of our love. This has been the caught episode of the Ball Hog Sports Talk. Make sure you come back next week. Like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone that you know. And now we is out. Peace.